let's talk about the Rams. We got the 2-2 Packers taking on the 1-3 Rams with their only one victory coming against the 49ers. The game is in LA at 3:25, so the first kind of later game for us as Packer fans. It'll be a little interesting to not have that noon game and not be in a rush to kind of watch football. So my son will actually be able to watch all of the game because it won't be his nap time, which will be fun. This is the 100th matchup between these two franchises, which is pretty crazy. I guess I didn't know prior to kind of looking at the backgrounds that the Rams have been around for so long. But it's the 100th matchup between these two franchises. Packers lead the series 50 wins, 47 losses, and 2 ties. 3 of those being postseason games. The Packers lead that series 2-1. Green Bay has won the last 4 against the Rams. However, this is an interesting thing that I was looking at. The last 12 games they've played at in LA have been losses. The last time they won in LA was in 1966. So December of 1966. That's a long time of losing in LA. So hopefully we can break that streak. These two teams most recently met last year, where the Packers defeated the Rams 20-3. If you remember, that was a game Stafford was hurt, and we saw Brett Rippon being thrown into action. So what can we expect for the 100th meeting between these two? Offensively, the Rams are without 2 really big weapons. They're without Puka and Cooper Kupp. They still have Matt Stafford, of course, but and he's no stranger to the Packers, but they're having a rocky season with injuries. And Stafford's actually only thrown 2 interceptions so far on the year and has paired it with 2 interceptions. Their offense is 8th on average in passing, just behind Green Bay with 224 yards on average. Rushing game's pretty weak, 28th on average, averaging 88.3 a game. And their scoring is 22nd in the league on average, averaging 18.8 points per game. Comparing that to the Packers are 7th in passing. As we mentioned, they're just ahead of the Rams there. 2nd on average in rushing with 174.5 yards a game. And they are 6th on average of scoring points per game at 26 points. So kind of key things there. Packers 26 points on average a game, where the Rams are looking at 18.8 points per game on average. Defensively, in years past, especially as a recent, the Rams defense has been kind of their bread and butter. With the loss of Aaron Donald to retirement, it seems like that identity might be changing a little bit. They are right now, the Rams defense is not stellar. They're giving up on average 385 yards a game, which is the 2nd worst in the NFL, just behind the Colts. Their rushing game the rushing defense is just horrible. Worst in the NFL at 165.5 yards on average given up each game. And then their passing game is 22nd in the league at 220 yards on average given up. How that compares against the Packers: 21st overall average, or 21st overall for total yardage, averaging 339 yards given up each game. 25th in passing defense at 230 yards on average, and 11th for rushing at 109 yards on average. And then the Packers have given up 22.3 points per game on average, which is 20th in the NFL. And I don't know if I mentioned the Rams, but they've given up 28.8 points per game, which is 2nd worst in the NFL. So kind of going back in that, their defense is giving up the 2nd worst points, 2nd worst yardage, worst rushing. So, there's a lot of flaws in that defense. Turnover differential. Let's talk turnovers. How are the Rams doing there? So we talked about Matt Stafford giving away 2 interceptions. They've also given up 2 fumbles. They're as far as their takeaways, they've taken away 1 interception and 2 fumbles, so they are a -1. Where the Packers are number 1 in the NFL with turnovers generated. They've had 8 interceptions and 4 fumbles, but they've given up +6, which is 4 interceptions, 2 fumbles, making them a +6 differential, which is number 1 in the NFL. Hoping Jordan can kind of take care of the ball a little bit more, especially if we can lay off how many pressures he has. Let him kind of take his time, read the field there. So like I said, this isn't the same team that we saw with Aaron Donald, especially on defense, but they do have some solid playmakers. Stafford can do it. Stafford's a big threat. Anytime he's in the backfield, he's a great quarterback. He's been in the league a long time, drafted number 1 overall in 2009. He is a great quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback. They got some good quarterbacks too. They got Tre'Davious White, who's a really strong cornerback, and then Darius Williams, another strong cornerback, and then Kyron Williams, who can be a threat for him as well. So what is the key here for the Packers to get back on track? As we're looking over everything, obviously that's a lot of analytical data. All situations are in any given Sunday. All of that can be thrown out at the window at any time. But if I am the Packers, my game plan is going to be simple here. It is going to be something the Packer fans have been saying for a long time, but we're going to kind of replace a little word in it. Instead of feed Aaron Jones, we're going to feed Josh Jacobs. Feed Josh Jacobs, feed Emmanuel Wilson. Let them feast against this defense, especially one that's really weak in a rushing defense. We talked about last week, we talked about the Vikings had a really strong or had a high ranked rushing defense. And we talked about that's because Minnesota had been up in so many games, making teams be one dimensional. The opposite here, the Rams haven't been in a lot of blowouts. They haven't been blown out in many games except the Cardinal game. Their number 1 ranked, or their number 1 or 32nd ranked, or their first worst defense for rushing is a product of a bad rush defense through 4 games. The Packers really should get Josh Jacobs going early and often, pair it with Emmanuel Wilson, wear him down. Let them kind of the same game plan you saw like when we went against the Colts and their bad run defense. Just let them do it. Let them take the hits. Let them, let Love really not take his hits. Let him just keep handing off the ball. Take what the defense gives you. Control the line of scrimmage. Control the clock. Just make life a lot easier. If you can put those points up on the board early, make the Rams get into a hole, and then make them one-dimensional, and then increase those turnovers like the Packers have been doing. The defense is going to get their opportunities to get turnovers. They need to capitalize on it. Let's see here. I'm trying to just take a look at my notes here, see if there's anything I missed. Obviously, it's going to be in SoFi. SoFi is really, there's going to be a lot of Packer fans there. So I don't know the home field advantage that the Rams are going to have. I'm sure they're going to have, they're going to have noise. They're probably going to pump in their crowd noise, even though you're not supposed to do that. But as I'm looking at it, that's got to be how you attack it. If you try to get too cute with this and try to throw it too much and try to overcomplicate things, I think it could potentially be a longer day. Now, I still think either way, because where the Rams are short on their weapons, I think you could kind of overcome some of that adversity, but I'd rather see the Packers just take care of business. Take care of the Rams, take care of business, and keep going. Hopefully ending the week with a win, bringing us to a 3-2 point. Any given Sunday, though, as we've always said, the Rams are a good football team. Matt Stafford's done Matt Stafford things. He can make you pay any Sunday, Monday, Thursday. So, Chad, we know Stafford like Stafford knows us, and Stafford is good for some picks if they can dial up the pressure. Well said, Chad. I love Matt Stafford. I thought he was really fun to always go against. He's always been a really good competitor, been a really good player for the Lions for a long time. I was happy to see him win a ring in with the Rams. If it couldn't be the Packers, I was okay with seeing Matt Stafford get one, because I've always been a big fan of Matt Stafford. So